Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm your host here, John Harkar, and we're here today with Mike Stohler. And what we're going to do is talk about his journey from a pilot to a hotel owner. Remember, guys, here at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and really all real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their business by providing tools and resources to help you build the business you want to live the life that you've always dreamed of. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about your journey, man. I mean, from what we talked about before, it seems like you have a lot of knowledge and experience. But before we do that, tell our audience a little bit about you, like where you came from, your background, how you got into real estate, or how you got into be a pilot, etc.
Yeah, great question. I'm from a very, very small town, Indiana, about 2,500 people. And, it's like everyone read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's like, oh, that must be it. Let's do it.
Right.
So I found I found like 8 homes, bought them up. And, back then there's 30, 40, 50,000. I mean, they were cheap in this small town. And I call it the PG days, pre-Google days when I bought them. So the buying part was easy, but then what?
Yeah.
How do you be a landlord? You got to fix stuff, due diligence. I didn't know any of that stuff. Here's a house for sale, and then all of a sudden it's a piece of crap and condemned. And, I was like, okay, here we go. And
I want to say that's like, something that's rare, but that's just all the time. I mean,
it is all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, do your due diligence, please.
Yes.
And it was it ended up being horrible. I gave them all back. I had to sell my house. My wife and I moved in with her parents. So it's not all those YouTube channel get rich quick real estate. It is hard. It is tough. You have to have your coaching, your mentors, and all that stuff. And my dream was to be an airline pilot, so I quit the real estate for a while. And well, before that, I was first Gulf War. As a veteran, 89-93 in the Navy. I was an ops specialist. And then fast forward, I became an airline pilot for Continental back in those days out of Houston.
Did you fly before, or did you go to pilot school?
I went to pilot school, so I got my license at age 17 and realized it was really expensive. And then Dad said, get your business degree like everyone else. Go work for someone for 45 years, get your watch, do it like the rest of us. And I'm like, that's not me. Stick me in the cubicle, I'll go postal, I think, so it's, I'm not that, it's not in my blood.
Me neither.
So I became an airline pilot, fast forward to 2012. And while I was an airline pilot, I was like, you know what, I've got money, I'm making money. Let's get back into some real estate. So, bought some houses, bought a fourplex, kept it small, hired a property management group. And then I got really injured flying into Houston during a tropical storm. It was hurricane was starting to blow in, and that was fun. Safely landed. I'm still here.
Hey, I'm about to say, you got the plane down. You're still here. That's good. That's good.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
It was so during that disability, I was like, you know what? Why aren't these things making any money? And I realized that Property Manager Group was nickel and diming me.
Yep.
They're charging me for everything, so I fired them, started doing it myself. And then I came to the conclusion that, you know what, I can pretty quickly match or exceed my pilot salary. And so I quit, and man, total 1,500 doors later, someone came in, bought my portfolio, and then I was like, now what? Because during that time I was now in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Cap rates were 3.5%, 4%. And I'm like, and I was buying at 10, 12. And I'm like, I can't do that. So through the networking, through people, I found a guy that managed and owned about 25 years experience in hotel business. I said, you know what, that kind of interests me. Teach me. And ladies and gentlemen, when you go through another asset class, what do? It's like, okay, I'm going to have you run it. I have the cash. You find it. You're going to teach me everything you know. And I gave him a cut at the end so that he has something to strive for. The better I do, the better he does. And that's how I got into single family at hotels, and now we're having fun.
Awesome. What were some of the challenges? Well, let's go back to that first rental fiasco, I guess you say. So all these properties were foreclosed on. Did you get bank loans? Did you have private money to buy them?
No. So here's what a lot of people don't realize is, did you know that you can go to local colleges and local universities and pick up pretty good homes? These colleges and universities get bequeathed homes, okay, from alumni. Well, they're not into being a landlord. So you can actually go, and there's someone that's in charge of the real estate, the property at these colleges and universities, and get a meeting with him and say, he's like, I've got 8 homes. I'll do seller financing. Here's what we do know to do at a college is monthly payments. So I put down payments, and they financed them and said, here's the keys to these 8 homes. And I didn't really take a look at it. I'm just like, wow, I am now a real estate, and I'm an investor. Here we go. And then they gave me the keys, and I went to look at the houses, and I'm like, yeah, there's a reason why they gave them to the university. Some of them were nice. There was 2 4-plexes that were really nice, but I didn't know. It's like, what's an application? What's the foreclosure? What's the due? I didn't have any of that. So I'm writing down on a piece of paper. Like, okay, you're going to pay me 12 months, and I couldn't go online, and download a form.
Right. How long did you have these?
Had about a year and a half.
Okay.
And racking up the credit card debt, because all of a sudden, new roof and new. And I was in my early 20s, mid 20s. I didn't have any money. And, I'm up there putting new roofs on, putting things on credit card. Found out how to become a plumber, with leaks, because I couldn't afford to.
Couldn't afford to pay one.
Could have paid one. So I'm down there busting my butt. And I'm like, I'm not having fun.
And you didn't even have YouTube U to learn off of like everybody else does.
I'm just looking at this, and I was like, okay, that pipe's leaking. It looks like it's some type of a metal. I don't know. Do I solid? I didn't know what.
Do I weld it? Do I clamp it? What do I do?
Like, what do I do? And finally it got too much. It's like I was actually getting new credit cards to pay for it. And I'm like going, my wife was like going, you got to stop this. And I'm like going, I don't, and here's the thing is, I didn't even know how then, like, do I sell it?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Try to flip them. It's just like I was so new and so naive.
Right.
And finally, I just gave them back to the college. So it didn't really affect my credit or anything like that. But I was so much in debt that we had to sell the house to pay off the debts. And
that's an interesting way to find property. Go to colleges. Now, everybody who listens to this is going to be going to colleges all across the country.
Yep.
But what department did you go to, or how did you figure out? Did you just go knock, or just asking anybody and everybody that might be in administration or something?
Yeah,
or?
I just went to the admin building. Yeah, it was at the local college, a very small college, and I said, "Hey, who's in charge of real estate?" And someone has to be running this campus.
Right.
And finding new campuses. And they said, "Oh yeah, this guy down the hall." And I knocked on his door and said, "Hey, can I set up a meeting?" And he goes, "Yeah, sit down." And I said, "You have any homes?" And he smiled and he goes, "No one's ever asked me that." And he goes, "Yeah, I've got."
Well, matter of fact, we do.
We do.
So what do you think were some of the challenges, obviously, with this? A lot of people go through that. They might get knocked off, right? They might get out of the game like, hey, real estate sucks. Not for me at all. That is a pretty, big hit. How did you personally get over that mentally, like with a mindset? And what challenges did you find getting back into it?
Yeah, great question. Well, I consumed myself with being an airline pilot, training. I didn't go to the military. So, I did it on my own. By that time, I had a good job, paid like $35,000 a year, and I just started doing that. And what I did is I said, where I failed is I just didn't know how to be a landlord.
Right.
So I went to these big apartment complexes. I said, you know what? I'm going to pretend like I'm going to rent an apartment. And they gave me the applications and the lease forms, and I just stole them, basically. And I was like, okay, now I have forms. And I listened to their pitch and what they did, and I started asking them questions. And so now I had forms, and now I did. And then before I was in between training, I went to work for a property management group. And I said, okay, I want to know how to do this. So instead of saying I'm done, it's like, what do I need to do? I need to learn.
Yes.
And that was probably the military mindset of never giving up, go out and learn it.
Yep.
Overcome the challenges. And so I was there for, just enough to learn and then quit. And then moved out to Arizona to, I had an agenda. I'm not going to admit, I'll admit it.
You're hearing nothing from me.
And then moved out to Arizona, finished up pilot training and looked at, palm trees and weather. And so moved out here and then became an airline pilot, and that kind of was my focus for a long time. But then I was like, just in that burning in the back of the head, back of my mind, just like, real estate.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it right this time. I stole the forms. I have some knowledge.
There you go.
But then I had enough money to hire a property manager group, and then I knew it's like, I'm actually going to visit the properties before I buy it.
Yeah. Good idea.
I have enough money to have an inspector come in, so the hard knocks, hit me in this bald head, and, it ended up working out.
Well, a lot of times the school of hard knocks is the best way to learn.
Absolutely.
It's sometimes, like I said, it will knock people off their block, but I think that's where you get the most real world experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a pilot, you got some properties.
Yep.
At what point did you say, "All right, I'm done with the piloting"?
Well, I got injured. I had no choice. I tore the forearm muscle off the bone, landing the jet into Houston.
Ow.
And there's something called wind shear, and basically the airplane did at 600 feet off the ground, just went whap.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
And did almost a full 90 degrees. And
Jeez.
well, that was at 1,200 feet. So I grabbed it, and then it tried to buck again at 600 feet. And that's when it bucked it so hard, and I had, the white grip of death on the yoke that it actually popped my forearm muscle off the.
Oh man, that had to hurt. So
Yeah.
So obviously you're not piloting, and then you're going in. Did you decide at that point, hey, it's full-time real estate?
Yeah. As I I fired the property manager group because they were charging me $500 to sneeze, and basically, and
Right.
but I went back once to try to be a pilot because I was just like I spent so much time and effort, and I could do the Sunday flying, but when they tried to kill you in the full motion sim, that arm I couldn't grip it tight enough. So I went back and I was like, you know what? I talked to my wife and I said, I think I can do this. And she goes, you better not, up this time,
Sure.
And I made her a bet, it's like, okay. And that's when the last recession hit, now it's, 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that time period. And that's when I made all my money. That's when I was buying everything.
Got it.
Because, great assets, 100% occupied. But ladies and gentlemen, in the commercial space, you have 5-year balloons, 7-year balloons. You don't have 30-year mortgages.
Right.
And so there's like a 28-unit complex came up. It was now valued, $300,000 less, even though it's the same thing, 100% occupied. But they wouldn't give the loan. They wouldn't give the balloon. So seller financing, assuming mortgages.
How did you learn that?
Well, we have Google now. By that time, there's Google. So what I did is I sought out some local mentors and coaches. I'm not going to say seminars because that kind of has a bad rep. There are some really good seminar people out there, and there's a lot of bad seminar people out there.
Oh yeah.
I found the good ones, and they taught me everything. And they gave me the forms, and they had all this stuff. The biggest one I had, his name was John Burley. And is the Burley model. He does lease options. He does all these different things, and he taught me a lot. And he goes, here's how you talk, here's how you say it, and I just started doing assumptions, seller financing, because I knew that the whole thing wouldn't last. So then in 13, now I've accumulated. God, it's like, oh man, I better be able to get some loans. Get a portfolio loan or something.
Right.
And I was able to. So then it was 50 plexes, 100 plexes, 150 plexes. Then I just kind of built it up, hired crews, learned how to do that, on-site managers, on-site maintenance.
And you said you got up to about 1,500 doors?
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. How did you find all these? What was your lead gen strategy?
Well, once you start getting known in a town, the leads come to you.
Got it.
All the off market. And when I say that, and then I would, like refinance cash out, buy something, refinance cash out, buy something, and you just kind of build it up.
Yeah.
And by that time I had a team, and that's another thing, ladies and gentlemen, once you get 100 units or so, 150, you need a team now. You're going to drive yourself nuts trying to do it yourself.
What things did you delegate, start delegating? What was the first couple things you delegated out to a team when you built it?
Yeah, good question. First off, you get complexes that are big enough where you hire on-site people. Even the 28 units, even the smaller ones. I found I call it the mother hen.
Hmm.
The one person, the one lady that will kick your butt, if you don't behave in her complex. And
Mm.
you find that person and she runs it for you. You give her free
And that's
rent.
just a tenant before she moves into that, but that's just a tenant.
She's just a tenant. I found the tenant.
You found the Nancy, or what?
I
Or what's that
found
word? What's the word they call
the
like
Karen.
the Karen? That's it, the Karen. You found the Karen,
I call her the mother hen, man. It's
the
like
mother hen.
you come into my roost, you better behave. And
And all
so
Karens out there, we love you. Trust me. It was just a joke. But
yeah, but you find that person, and then it's like, hey, is anyone here, good at maintenance? So that's
oh,
what I did first. Is I stopped going every day. I stopped. She collected the checks. She made sure, and I was like, hey, we have some apartments coming up. Find people that you want as your neighbors, and she would bring people in. So that's how it kind of started,
smart.
and that was an easy way. It was, give her free rent. Give the
Yeah.
maintenance guy free rent. I didn't have anything out of the pocket. It didn't hit me that much. Then as you get bigger, the CPAs are extremely good, extremely important. The eviction attorney is, don't find just an attorney, find one that specializes in evictions.
Right.
And then you start, as I got bigger, I actually got into like a really good property management group,
Good.
and then I played golf and I was fine, and then I was like going, hey, I show up once a month at these places just to make sure that nothing's happening. And that's where I got was I was no longer working in the business.
Working on it instead. Yep, that's where we want to be. What were some of the troubles or
You don't
things you
have,
ran into as you grew as you went from one to five to 100 to 1,500?
yeah, banks, were number one. You go to one bank and I forget what it was. They only allow you 4 or 5 loans per bank. There's some rule out there that, unless you do like a portfolio loan. So
Yep.
then you find another bank, then you find another bank. Um, and the hardest part is as I grew was just how am I going to manage all of these things and all these people, so I got an office, um, had the people in my office, that were the key contributors, the stakeholders. And then it was just, I'm a nice guy, but there's also the business,
Okay.
and then the hardest thing for me was being really hard on people.
Yes.
Okay, because this is a business. Don't take this personally, but it's a business. Get your ass in gear.
Yep.
That was another thing. And just keeping on top, I had to learn how to now manage employees and keep them honest, not like they're going to steal from me, but just you show up to work, you do this is what you're
Right.
doing. The
Keep them on
scheduling,
track.
keep them on track, and just doing all that, more of the delegation part of keeping everyone on the same page and doing what they need to do.
Got it. So you sold the portfolio and you decided to go into hotels.
Yeah,
Why hotels?
great question. Yeah, I had a quick story. I had this big group out of Idaho. They came in and said, hey, I want to buy your apartments. I'm like, nope, I am golfing. I am having fun. I finally built the life I want to. And they came back 3 times. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And they said, well, we're going to be in Phoenix. Let's meet at IHOP. And I'm like, that sounds like an Idaho group. They've got millions and millions and millions of dollars when IHOP is like a pancake house. And
Yeah, I know. I know. I live in Boise.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, they finally gave me that price that I'm like going, man, I've never had, I didn't even dream of this type of money, small kid in Indiana.
Sure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about networking. It's always about going out. There's some type of a RIA. Here it's ASRIA, Arizona RIA. There's Idaho RIAs. There's RIAs in every state. Go to them. Go to networking. Go to events. Go to conferences. Meet people. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
And so I found this guy that I'd known before that was in hotels, and I was like going, wow, I didn't even know people could own hotels. I mean, that's how naive I was. And of course, he was Indian, and but his last name was not Patel. That's an inside joke. That 96% of the hotels are owned by Patels.
Yeah.
inside joke for all the Indian people. But I just sat down, took him out for coffee, and got to know what the differences. And there's a lot of differences. Hotels are not real estate. It's a business.
It's a business, right?
Yeah. It happens to sit on real estate, but there's nothing real estate about it. And especially if you have franchises like I do. So I told myself, I've got a wad of cash that is now getting ready to expire with my 1031. Go find me some hotels really quick. But here's the caveat. I want you to teach me everything you know, how to buy it, what you're looking at. I'm going to be your wingman the entire time. And then I want you to run them because I don't know anything about it.
Right.
You're going to teach me how to run them. And I can't afford to give you a salary. I could, but I didn't want to. It's just me.
Right. Well, it's okay.
But I said, I'll give you the like a property management fee. And then what I'm going to do is when we start selling these properties, I'm going to give you a cut at the end. So he has kind of like a profit sharing. He has
sure equity stake.
He has an equity stake. So I knew that, if he has skin in the game on the back end, he's going to run them well.
Yeah.
And then he'll make millions.
What do you think are some of the biggest hurdles of moving up to that asset class? Like, what are the biggest differences in that asset class? Besides the fact that you mentioned before, it's a business, really, not necessarily real estate.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is, are you hearing something in the background?
No.
Okay, it must be on my side. For some reason, there's music coming in. So.
Oh yeah, that's weird. No, not on my side. I don't hear anything.
Okay, they're just quit. Okay. Edit that part out.
No, we don't. We like to keep it natural. But anyways, go ahead. Finish.
So what happened was, the biggest thing is when you look at franchises, Hilton, Marriott, whoever it is, they're not going to give any Joe Schmo keys to a franchise. Okay, so you have to qualify. You have to have experience. So what I found out is Vic, my partner in these, he actually had to be on the lease. He had to be the partner.
Okay.
And so that's the biggest thing is they're not going to give, I don't care how many multifamily doors you have, Hilton's not going to give you anything. These franchises aren't going to give you anything.
Sure.
The second thing is you have a lot of vendors. You have probably 20 or 25 different vendors now. You have the breakfast foods, the maintenance, HD supply. You have all these different pieces.
House cleaning, all that stuff.
House cleaning. Now I have a lot of expenses, a lot more employees, benefits. It's like all of a sudden it's like, wow, I'm having to deal with all this sort of stuff. Third-party bookings, it's like, and then you realize, the booking.coms, the Travelocities, and then they get commissions and everyone gets commissions. And I'm like going, it's just, it's like this tornado coming at you on the differences.
Right.
And then what type of people, are coming in, and then, you get into what kind of price points do you want to be at. It's kind of like gas stations where you have 4 or 5 gas stations around. They're always kind of switching prices and trying to compete with each other. And
right.
So you have your competitor set. So, that's just, I could name 100 different things that are
sure
different.
If someone wanted to get into doing hotels, or let's just say real estate as a whole, but hotels, what kind of advice would you give? Resources would you recommend? Tools they should look out for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The biggest thing is get a mentor. Don't just buy it. Contact someone that or that is in hotels, and have them kind of show you the ropes. There are some lobbying groups and different, there's AHOA and, big groups. They have free educational material. They just have these different things. Get to know. The biggest thing is, if you ever do buy a hotel or want to build a hotel, you really need to put the correct type and the correct franchise in the location. That's something that I learned also. You don't put a Marriott in a small town wherever off of a highway. Okay. Where, what's the best thing is a limited service with truck driver parking.
Yep.
Free internet, free breakfast, and then they're gone. And those hotels just stay booked. You don't put a fancy hotel in
with a nice restaurant in there.
Nice restaurant. That stuff, is not going to work.
Right. Got it. Cool.
So that's, that's another thing that I learned that is really one of the other big things. There's not a lot of educational stuff out there. It's like how to buy a hotel. Everyone keeps telling me I should write a book, how to go from multifamily to hotels.
That could be a good one. That could be a good, hey, I mean, you got some time now, don't you?
Yeah, well, I've got some time. Yeah. I'm spending the week, up at our mountain house and
so
fiddling
awesome.
around.
So awesome.
But yeah, that's just one of the big differences. It's a big enough leap. It's not like going from houses to multifamily.
Right.
Houses to storage unit. It's a big enough leap where I would say don't do it unless you have someone with you.
You're prepared or you have that mentor. Well, and that's been a big theme of almost every podcast I've been on when I ask folks that same question is like, get a mentor.
Yeah.
It's going to shorten your learning curve. It's going to help you avoid mistakes because they already made them and they know how to tell you to avoid those pitfalls.
Exactly.
Mike, you shared a ton of great information. I love your journey, man. I love your story. I think you should write a book. I think that would be the next evolution of your journey. But if folks want to get in touch with you, they want to talk about whether it's multifamily, whether it's hotels, whatever it might be, how do they reach you?
Yeah, great question. I have a website. It's gatewaype.com. PE is in private equity, gatewaype.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Go there a lot. I have my own podcast, The Richer Geek, and it's a lot like John's. It's all these different ways to diversify portfolios. It's not just real estate, but all these different things that you can diversify out of, your stocks and bonds, where you can put money into it. But
awesome.
It's been a lot of fun, and reach out and say that you found me on John's podcast, and love to talk to you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And guys, I definitely encourage you to, if you have any interest in getting into the hotel game. Mike, thank you again. Folks, I hope you guys got some good nuggets. I know I did. Key theme, I think, on here is if you're going to get into any asset class that's, like a hotel or something like that, get a mentor, right? Get someone that can lead you the way. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I know I sure did. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.
Later.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.